All right, race fans, let's get into this, and let's start by going over some housekeeping. Is it if this is your first 45 Friday live, and this is specifically for people that are watching this the next day. If you're not watching this live, this is for you. If you're watching this the next day, understand that about 24 hours has to pass before you can actually see the chats that show up on one side of the video here on YouTube. So you might see me interacting with people on YouTube, and you might be like, "Oh, what's going on there?" Wait 24 hours to watch this live, and then you'll see everything. We're adding another element. We are adding the Instagram here. The Instagram, that's such an old person thing, because the last 45 Friday live of 2023 got shut down. That got shut down for me showing firearms, which is ridiculous. We're a gun page. We post videos on YouTube of firearms all the time. So I don't understand why lives are any different, but apparently they are. So I do have Instagram as a backup. And of course, I think the best quality will be on YouTube if you're able to come on YouTube. And I think I'm going to be able to interact a little bit better with YouTube. So that's just some kind of housekeeping for everybody. Welcome if you're on YouTube, if you're on Instagram. Thank you for being here. I'm Eli Duckworth with Alchemy Custom Weaponry. Welcome to 45 Friday Live, baby. It's the best day of the week, in my opinion, because it's Friday. Friday is always awesome. 45s are awesome. And we're going to kind of go over some stuff here. Again, reiterating, I will not be showing firearms on the 45 Friday Live today because I don't want to get shut down on YouTube. I hate that, and especially for the Instagram folks, you kind of get you're unfortunately going to have to deal with that too. But we can talk about 1911s, we can talk about alchemy, we can talk about all sorts of things while we're here, and we'll see how it goes. Maybe it goes well, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. I'm just kind of winging it at this point. So here we go. Let's go over some stuff with alchemy coming up. I do want to go over some other housekeeping stuff. We do have SHOT Show coming up. That's next week. That's actually, I'm leaving for SHOT Show on Sunday, I believe. So SHOT Show is next week. Keep in mind that we will definitely not be able to be quite as responsive as you may be used to, because we're a very small team, and we'll be obviously at the show. However, there is a dedicated team still back home at Fort Wayne and of course Cabot, PA, that can answer your questions if you absolutely have to have an answer for something. But myself and Nick the Dick will be in Vegas. Don't worry, I am not very pumped about it. Vegas is definitely not my scene. I hate that town, actually. It's the second worst city in America behind Houston, Texas. But it's where it is, unfortunately, and that's what we'll have to deal with. So we'll be out of the office next week. Please bear in mind with that, and we appreciate you being considerate of that. But we're going to move on here, and we're going to talk a little bit about 1911s, or as much as we can. This may be a short live. I don't know. I can't show guns. It kind of pisses me off, but we'll work with what we can to get, talk about the greatness of John Moses Browning. So hit me up with some questions, comments, whatever. Let's talk about 1911. So, well, my comment wasn't done. It's whatever I learned. Hot salt bluing because alchemy inspired me, and it's also just the most beautiful finish. Yes. Hot salt bluing, for a lot of companies, the bluing at the standard we do it, okay, is sort of usually reserved for deluxe or upgraded models. It's kind of uncommon to see the level of bluing that you see with Alchemy's base model stuff as a base model finish. You saw that back in the pre-war Colt days, obviously, but even post-war, we're providing a much more properly blued pistol than even Colt was post-war. So it really is something special. I think that people really don't take advantage enough of the fact that, everywhere else in the industry, getting a blue job like what we do, it kind of usually costs a lot of money. No, you can't see the most base model prime. Somebody asked to see the most base model prime. The reason for that, YouTube will axe this 45 Friday Live if I show a gun. We found that out the hard way. I apologize. I can't show guns. I understand that you're here to talk about guns. It's kind of hard to talk about them without seeing them. But, yeah. What exactly are Butler cuts? I heard you talking about them on 45 Friday, and I have no idea what they are. They are an abbreviated ball cut. It's for when you have not quite a full rail, but it's not definitely not a half rail. You typically see them on 2011s. And I'll be honest, I think they're ugly as hell. But I also don't really like that kind of like uh, in between rail length on a 1911/2011. Be a half rail, be a full rail, be nothing. The Butler cuts really are super unattractive, in my opinion. However, of course, if you're here, you usually like 1911s, and if you're with Alchemy specifically, you like classic 1911s, and the Butler cut is just not a classic look on a 1911, or I mean even a 2011 if that is kind of what you're talking about. But I don't care for them personally. That doesn't mean you have to not care for them, but they are sort of ugly in my opinion. I'm coming over here to YouTube now. Is Alchemy going to put some weight into shooting sports like USPSA? Maybe. I don't know. To be honest with you, we don't really build like a true competition pistol. We don't really build something with that in mind. We build pretty, good quality heirloom pistols that are damn good for fighting. And I don't know if competition shooting sports have the weight from a manufacturer standpoint that they did in the 80s and the 90s, 70s. Much like, how really companies don't have much weight in like NASCAR. Okay. Now, back in the day, sponsoring NASCAR, that sold shit, but I don't know if working in the competition realm sells shit the way that it should or is worth the investment. So that's kind of something that now, as far as like building guns specific for competition shooting, that's probably not going to happen because, like I said, that's just not what we want to build. And that's the really nice thing about Alchemy Custom Weaponry is we're kind of building the guns we like. And we hope that you like them too. But, more importantly, we want to build the guns we like and we think that we've got pretty good style. So hopefully you like them too. Can you show pics live? No, I can't show anything gun even shaped live. I'm actually seeing if this will even get away with it. I'm sure it will. It's just a logo, but yeah. What's your dream 1911 high cap, high speed, or old school single stack? Oh, old school single stack. I mean, it's crazy too because my Quantico high cap's probably my favorite gun to just take out to the range and shoot. If you gave me a pile of ammunition, that gun is just a blast. But at the end of the day, I'm an old school 45 single stack 1911 5-inch guy. And I just don't think anything beats it. I think it's just one of the sexiest looks, the sexiest combinations of things. It's just how it should be. The 1911 and 45 came out, and then everything else was downhill after that, is my opinion. If this was 1880, what would be your EDC and home defense setup? If this was 1880. This is a non-1911 question, but we'll take a shot at it. So 1880. Well, 1873 rifle. Is going to have to be the choice there. Winchester. We're Winchester family here. And then, of course, some order of revolver, maybe one or two single action armies. Although, as much as I'm a Colt fanboy when it comes to stuff, the Schofield is a pretty slick gun. But I think I might still go with the Colt 1873 single action army revolver in that case. Can you explain the HRT slide stop? This is good stuff. This is the kind of stuff that we want to see. So I will explain it. I wish that I could show you again. I hate that I can't because it makes things very difficult. But here we go. So imagine you're looking at a 1911, okay, and you're looking at the slide stop on the opposite side. The 1911's frame, the slide stop is proud, if you will, from the frame. Now, apparently, left-handed shooter, and this is another thing with left-handed shooters, just ruining everything. Left-handed people were having issues. I believe it was around like the HRT Springfield Pro era. Left-handed people were having issues with when their fingers were off the trigger, or even when they were kind of running a thumbs forward grip, they would push the slide stop out while the gun was cycling, and it would get hung up on. It would either engage the slide stop too early with rounds in the magazine, or it would get hung up on the slide stop takedown notch. So the HRT cut is essentially we're going to chamfer into the frame, and we're going to cut the slide stop flush with the frame. And that will prevent, and it actually does, because it's kind of a bastard to take apart your gun with an HRT cut. I mean, it's not a bastard. That's kind of not the appropriate word, but it's just not as easy as without it. But it does its job. I mean, that's what it's there for. So you don't push the slide stop out. So yeah, it does its job. But if you're not left-handed, it's not necessary. But it does look good too, especially on a polished gun with a really nice flat plane polish. That's a good look. Looks good. All right. Will the next Resto mod be displayed at SHOT Show? No. We don't want to get all cluttered up with all that other stuff that goes on with SHOT Show. We'll wait. Probably around February, March. If I want to get a Prime Elite Commander in hard chrome like your new gun, is it possible to get a square trigger guard, sort of a small nod to Armand Swinson? You can get a square trigger guard on a 5-inch gun only. You cannot get a square trigger guard on a Commander. Would I think it'd be cool? Heck yeah. But we don't sell enough 5-inch square guard guns to warrant bringing in the Commander square guard gun. And that just comes down to, one, people don't appreciate the square guard as much as they should. I think square guard 1911s are freaking sick, but a lot of people don't appreciate them. Two, because of the oddity with the holster, you typically have to get a holster made, and a lot of people don't like the fact they have to get a holster made, even though it's going to take 4 to 6 months to get your gun anyways. So, that is a bit of a complication to the square guard, and why we don't, add that into the Commander line. As much as I would like it, I would love it, but it's just all about, there has to be a balance of what I love and what we're actually going to sell. So, why did the Prime Target get taken off the website? Well, it kind of did, kind of didn't. The Prime Target really was just more or less retired as a model name. Now, here's the thing I'm going to tell you. You can get a Prime Target, okay? Go to the Prime Elite, 5-inch. You can have a square guard now. You can have a Bomar if you want it. You can have the Prime Target. It's just not called the Prime Target anymore, because it was kind of just it kind of took up space on the website. It was like one of the least trafficked pages on the website. And I think that comes down to, again, Alchemy's not known for competition or target shooting. Although our guns could do well in both, and I've seen them do well in both, that's just not our bag. A lot of people get our guns for heirloom pieces, and a lot of people get our guns for defense, which is great. And I think the Prime Target nomenclature kind of caused people maybe not, I'm not in the market for a target gun. I'm looking at the Prime Elite or something like that. So I think that they actually kind of never went and looked at that page anyway. So we are still making square guard 5-inch guns. You just have to, it's a drop down menu option now. It's not a model. And we're trying to really condense our models. I don't like how a lot of companies, and that's fine. And listen, we're definitely the young bucks, the cowboys of our industry. So, maybe we're doing it wrong and everyone else is doing it right. That's fine. But I don't like all the crazy models that everybody has. Everybody seems to have a new model of this and that and the other. And it's kind of just it's the same cupcake, a little different icing on it. And we kind of really, really, really want to streamline the process. Hey, you want a gun with no rail? Prime. You want a gun with a rail? Quantico. And then from there, decide, you want a single stack, double stack, how long you want the barrel. There you go. Make it kind of as easy as possible for people to navigate our website and our models. Okay. No visual age sucks, YouTube. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. I really hate this. I apologize again. As you can tell, I've actually taken the guns completely out. There's no guns in the frame at all, which is super lame. And so I apologize for that. But just bear with me. I promise we'll still have a good time. What's your thought on a bobtail versus CCO for EDC? I've carried a bobtail gun back when I was like 22 or something, for about 6 months. And I do think they conceal a little bit easier, especially with lighter garments. But now that I've kind of learned to dress with a 1911, I don't really see it as a major advantage. And in fact, while the one that I had shot okay, I think it kind of does take a little bit away from your shootability. And I'm going to tell you all this, I would rather have an excellent shooting firearm than a small firearm that conceals well. So I want something I can shoot the best, and that's usually why I gravitate to a Commander or a full-size gun with a full-size grip. Alex here, super excited for the high cap. Anyways, when I think of iconic 1911s, one of the first things I think of as a Delta Elite. Any chance of having something like that happen? No. We don't really care about 10 millimeter. That's kind of where it comes down to. We just don't have any interest in it. Maybe one day, but Alchemy is just at the point we're at right now. We don't want to introduce a new caliber, especially one that is 10 millimeter, because here's the problem with 10 millimeter. Okay, I'm going to lay it out for you. Okay, I'm going to lay it out for you, the problem with 10 millimeter. Okay. You get these people who are hopped up on 10 millimeter because they're all, well, the 10 millimeter is so powerful, this, that, and the other. And then you actually pay attention to what those people are shooting. And it ain't really 10 millimeter. It's 40 Smith & Wesson with extra steps. And so we kind of want to do you a service as not looking stupid by you getting to the range and pulling out your Winchester white box that's just like 50 feet per second faster than 40 Smith & Wesson. And you sitting there and acting like you're shooting some big time caliber, and you're not. And I think very few people actually shoot real deal 10 millimeter. And you'll know it because they're just like pilots and CrossFitters. They don't shut up about it. And that's another reason we don't do 10 millimeter. But anyways, there's your 10 millimeter deal. Watching from West Virginia, by God, take me home. If not a flat trigger, what's your favorite trigger with a square guard? Medium or a long trigger, curve trigger. And I do like flat triggers, but I kind of went on a bell curve. I was like, I'd never want to do flat triggers. They're not classic. Everything has to have a flat trigger. It's amazing. I don't want to do flat triggers again because they are not super classic. I like the curved trigger. I think the gun has to be very specific. Like the Quantico series guns look really good with a flat trigger. I've seen some primes optioned that look really good with a flat trigger. But for me, and I'll admit, I think the flat trigger is a more consistent trigger for the gunfighter. However, it just doesn't look quite as classic as maybe what I'm going on a dark road where I just like older and older looking guns. Like for 2024, I have almost no plan other than I do get an Alchemy every year. I try to get an Alchemy every year. Other than that, I really have no plans to buy any modern guns. So I'm looking at pre-war stuff because that's the cool shit, man. Pre-war guns are just awesome. Pre-war Colts. I'm even looking at a Luger. Some of you might say, Eli, why are you looking at a Luger? Lugers actually influenced the final product of the 1911 more than most people give them credit for. And so I kind of want to get a Luger just as a nod to that. This isn't Cheerwine, but I sure as hell wish it was. Okay. I'm trying to get all hydrated for SHOT Show. I've been slamming vitamin C 1,000 milligram packets like it's nobody's business. Don't want to get the shit this time. I have a GI link guide rods in all my guns. Any measurable benefit? Full length? No. We use GI in everything we have. Some people will tell you it's better. I'll tell you it don't make a difference. And it makes takedown kind of a bastard. My grandpa from Instagram, my grandpa has a 30 Luger, 30 Luger caliber Luger. Really cool little guns. Yes, they are. I don't know if I want a 30 Luger just for ammunition's sake, although 30 Luger is fairly, you can get it. But a 9mm obviously would just make things a little bit easier. Okay, race fans, just 3.5 more months until my gangster commander arrives. Well, we're so stoked for you. We're so stoked for you. No one buys or shoots 10mm. It's all a bluster. See, you people get it. You people, you've read past the marketing. Okay, and see, here's the thing about Alchemy Custom Weaponry. We ain't gonna throw all this marketing shit at you. Okay, all these other big companies, they throw all this marketing shit. You have some guy with a deep voice doing a voiceover as some tactical nerd, draws and fires a pistol, talking about all this shit. We ain't gonna do that. I'm gonna say, hey, this is damn 1911. Make your testosterone get bigger. Testosterone grow. Your balls probably get a little bigger. Everything's great. It's 1911. You'll do great. That's our marketing. Happy 45 Friday. Praise Dale. Hell yeah. I'll trade you a 365 for an Alchemy. That's hilarious. Okay. What's the maintenance to change recoil springs in a prime? That's kind of determined on your maintenance and your shooting prescription. I don't know. I mean, they're super cheap. So, I mean, if you throw them in there every few thousand rounds, it's probably not going to hurt. I mean, we use Wolf springs, and they're super inexpensive, and they're great. So it doesn't hurt to have 2 or 5 around. Okay. 10mm mentioned. Yes, absolutely. Turning 21 this year. Plan on the Prime Elite Carry being my first handgun. Hot damn. See, that's what I'm about. That, honestly, that shit makes me happier than anything else. I want young, and I understand, okay, before any of you get on, well, you know, how could you say you want young people to be into 1911s and you charge $4,000? Well, I'm not saying they even have to buy an Alchemy, but I want young people to get into 1911s. The 1911s are a really pivotal point in history. You know, everybody seems to want one, but they kind of don't take them seriously. We want to take them seriously. So I'm trying to get young people into the 1911, so that, you know, even if they can't get an Alchemy now, maybe down the road, but even if, and I can't believe I'm saying this, even if you say, hey, you know, I ain't got a lot of money, let me start off with one of these, you know, Turk T-Sauce. Hey, I get it. Eventually you'll come see me about an Alchemy. So just understand, you buy that $400 1911, eventually you'll come see me for a $4,000 one. So there we go. You can't Seagal check with the full-length guide rod. Damn straight you can't. Seagal check, if you don't know, you get in the trigger guard, a little pincharoo there. Pretty awesome. Pretty epic. Even though Steven Seagal is not a savory person, kind of a communist, but it is fun to make fun of him. So, and I do genuinely like a Seagal check. I think it's pretty dope. I actually do it quite a bit. And the other thing too is it's not just Seagal who did that. It's kind of commonplace back in the 70s, 80s, 90s. You actually see Al Pacino, not saying that he's your firearms expert of Hollywood, but you see Al Pacino do a Seagal check in Heat, which is a fantastic movie. But he is, unfortunately, he's got such a gangster rifle. Okay, he's got the FNC. Okay, super awesome rifle. And then they gave him an officer's ACP. And that's just like, what the heck, dude? That dude needed a custom 5-inch gun. Okay. If you could talk with Mr. JMB about one design, which one, 1911 BAR and 1903. So that's actually, you just hit my 3 favorite guns ever. 1911, the BAR, and the 1903. Probably that is in that order. I don't know. I think I'm going to tell y'all this. If you've never taken apart a Colt 1903 pocket hammerless, why don't you do that? And then you think to yourself, John Browning, you are such a genius. Why the shit did you make that gun so damn hard to put back together? I think that might be what I ask him. I say, Mr. Browning, I love you. I love the 1903, 1908 pocket hammerless. Why in the hell did you make it so hard to put back together? Because I promise y'all, if you've ever taken apart a 1903 pocket hammerless, you have cussed a lot putting it back together. In fact, I would say it's honestly the most I've ever cussed in one period of time was putting together a 1903. I thought that it would be, I got a spring package from U.S. Armament Corps. I'm going to switch all the springs up. We're going to be great. In and out job, 30, 40 minutes at the most, just because I'm going to be admiring Browning's work. 3 hours later, and I was sweating, cursing. It was bad, bleeding. It was bad. It was not fun. Okay. And I may not have had the correct tools, but I would say, Mr. Browning, could you have made that a little easier to put back together? The 1911 ain't that bad. 1903 hammerless, that thing sucks. But the gun itself's great. I love the gun. Okay. Everyone needs 1911. My dad and uncle were doing that 1911 check before Steve was in movies. Yeah, it was a super old school thing. Kids nowadays like polymer with rails and dots. Got to convert them to the 1911 goes by the wayside. Eli gets it. Yeah. And listen, I kind of like to go back and forth. If you look at my collection, it's really interesting because you'll see, like my gangster weaponry Quantico with, SRO and X300 next to like a 1916 Colt. I like both the not hyper. That's not the correct term. Really tactical guns and also super classic guns. And I think that that's a mix. A lot of young people want to see, X300s and red dots on their 1911s. I think it's fine. But it's funny because they'll get into 1911s with dots and lights, and then the next thing you know, they say, well, I kind of want a classic heirloom gun. And I'm saying, hell yeah, brother. I'll help you up. Okay. My last 3 1911s have been Ed Brown, so I'm picking up my first ACW Prime Elite next week off a buddy for a price I can't pass up. Well, I'm glad to hear that. RDS or irons, only one. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know. That's a tough one. I don't feel comfortable answering that. I shoot better with red dots, no doubt. No doubt. No doubt. But I like the look, honestly, of irons on a 1911 just a hair better. So maybe that, but I don't know. I can't pick just one. I have 30 1911s. There's no reason to pick just one. When will we see a compensated ACW? As soon as somebody listens to me and lets me build a compensated ACW. I think a comp gun would be bitching. But, it comes down to, again, it's just like Super 38. It's just like 10 millimeter. It's just like, what was the other thing? 45 double stack. All these people are saying, oh, yeah, I'd buy one. I'd buy one. We come out with it, invest a ton of money into research and development to make it, get all the SKUs, all this stuff done. And guess what? No, oh, well, it's a little out of my price range. So it's one of those things where we have to really, I really need a lot of support to be able to make a comp gun because it would take a lot of research and development because we've never done a comp gun before, even though I've got comp guns that we can use. Okay. I'm going to come over here to Instagram. Do you prefer a bushing barrel or bull barrel? Bushing every day, all day, baby. Okay. If Browning wanted that bastard to have a bushing barrel, a bull barrel, he'd have made it with it, especially because he had guns that had stuff similar to, not exactly, but similar to a bull barrel beforehand. That bastard's supposed to have a bushing. Okay. I want it to have a bushing. I like the way a bushing looks. Now, like something like a full rail, hey, yeah, okay. I get that. We can do, a bull barrel. But for like a traditional everything else, bushing is the way to go. Does ACW offer a short flat trigger for the Quantico carry? No, our flat trigger is only one length, and that is medium. It's between short and medium. Coming over here, release a comp gun. I'll make it my 5th ACW. Listen, I'd make it my 5th ACW. Yeah, I got 4 right now. If Jesus ordered an ACW, what would he order? Probably a charcoal blue with some ivory grips and a ring hammer. Jesus definitely has a ring hammer on his gun. Young guys should learn from old guys and buy one quality Alchemy and be done versus buying several cheaper brands over time, which costs the same as Alchemy. Yes. I will say, as a young person, that in my brain, I don't like it because, young people have this stigma, I want to have a bunch of guns. Very few young people are like, hey, I want to only have 1 or 2 really good guns. Very few are like that, and I think when you get into guns, when you're kind of let off the leash at 21 and you can buy whatever you want, you get into a little bit of a frenzy where you kind of just enjoy the act of buying guns. And that's the honest truth. So it is difficult to convince them, hey, it's better off to make this higher level purchase than make a ton of shittier purchases. So, yeah, I get it, but it is a little bit harder, said than done. Or done than said, if I said that right. Seeing your gangster weapon with Quantico has me almost wanting to send mine in for an RDO cut and ball cuts 90-degree dust cover. Yeah, that gangster weaponry gun is pretty badass. I'm not going to lie to you. Recently ordered a high cap. Can't wait to get it. Well, we can't wait to build it for you. All right. The collector would buy a Comp 1911 from you all. That's y'all. Okay. None of this you all. The collector may. Yeah, absolutely. He probably would. But it looks like it really doesn't, that dude buys about everything. So, I don't know if that's necessarily something that gets me geared up for it. But yes, listen, everybody's a little worried about not being able to have 1911s showing. And I understand it is a little bit difficult and it may stifle the conversation a little bit, but you got to admit, we're going on. This is going pretty well for not being able to show 1911 pistols. Oh, yeah. So we are having a good time. I think it also helps having the Instagrams here. You see that phone there? I like the depth of field, with the camera set up there. I like the depth of field, that's kind of blurred. I like that, ACW planned to offer a flat trigger option for the ACW Quantico high cap. Hey, I can't answer that question at this time. Could I have a 1911 for free? Oh, actually, up in the land of Cabot, it's yens, and that may be true. But this right here, this 45 Friday Live is in North Carolina. Okay, and we don't say yens. That doesn't even sound right. Yens, y'all. It's y'all. Okay, that's the correct term. You should make some high definition pictures of the guns on card and screw YouTube. I actually don't know. I don't know if that would do it, but it may. It may. And also and I know there's a ton of people who don't have Instagram, and that's why they're on YouTube. In fact, we have more viewers on YouTube right now than we do Instagram, which is kind of one of those things that tells me I think there's a lot of people who don't have Instagram that are on YouTube. Or I would just go to Instagram, because Instagram Live, you can show, I mean, Lord, on Instagram, if I could be about naked and you'd be okay. But YouTube, for whatever reason, has this software that can tell if I'm holding up a gun, which is ridiculous. We're entering 1984. I hate it. I hate it here. Why don't you and Nick show up at a local gun store after shot so us normal folks can hold one? So I'm going to let you in on something that a lot of people don't talk about in the gun industry, and that's SHOT Show sucks. I enjoy it from the business aspect. You know, it's very, very lucrative show at times. But it is a absolutely nightmarish drain on your body. So when Saturday comes around, brother, I'm ready to leave Vegas, and I hate Vegas in general. So that definitely does now. Like, I'm ready to leave Vegas the minute I get to Vegas. It's a terrible town. You know, I don't drink, I don't fool around with women, I don't gamble, and I don't do any nefarious activities. The only thing in Vegas I really care about is Shelby Americans in Vegas. And guess what? They're damn closed by the time I'm able to go there at the end of the day, which sucks. But Shelby America is the only thing I really care about in Vegas, I think. So yeah, anyways, I'm ready to leave by the time SHOT Show's over. Now, with that being said, 2024, we are looking at partnering with our dealers, okay, and setting up dealer days where, okay, hey, you're if you want, I'm gonna go out there, y'all can come meet us, y'all can put the hands on the guns, we can meet in person, because I like meeting people in person. That's actually one of the big things I love about SHOT Show is I get to meet people in person, and I like that. So we'll set up dealer days. I think 2024 is going to be a big year for Alchemy. I think this is going to be the first step into some pretty serious business for us. So yeah, it's going to be a good time, but it definitely ain't going to be after Vegas, because I'm ready to leave Vegas as soon as I get there. I went once as a dealer. It's pretty rough. Oh, it's very rough, and it's really rough as a exhibitor. Vang Comp is the only reason I'd go to Vegas. I've seen some of their stuff. I went to funny story if you're into this about Vang Comp. My friend said, hey, we got invited to it. If you've never been to SHOT Show, there's all these stupid parties, and it is usually good to go because you can make some deals and work some connections and that sort of thing. He goes, hey, I'm going to this party, and I didn't have anything better to do that night, unfortunately. And I said, okay. And so we're getting this big old line. Okay, big old line. All right. And it's this warehouse, and like it had like this, you know, I don't know how to explain it, but it was like it was real secretive kind of, but there was a big old line. I don't know how it's secretive and have a big old line at the same time. I said, well, screw this shit. And I walk around and found the back door of the warehouse. And I just walked my ass up in there. What I didn't realize, and what was conveniently left out in the, hey, let's go to this SHOT Show party, is that it was at a burlesque event. And let me tell you right now, first of all, at the time, I feel like you could have told me that this was a burlesque event, and I still wouldn't have known. I'd have thought that means there was some fancy French food or something like that there. That's not. That's naked women with snakes around their necks, okay? And that's a strange sight when you're not ready for it. When you walk up in there and it's dark as shit, and there's smoke everywhere. And all of a sudden, there's a woman bare chested with an anaconda or a python of some kind wrapped around her neck. Okay. That's the first thing I saw amidst the smoke and fog. And I said, what in the hell is this? Turns out it was that SHOT Show party. Anyways, the reason I brought that up after Van Kampf was brought up is because Van Kampf was at this burlesque thing. And really, they had an 1897 Winchester shotgun, and that's kind of all I wanted to worry about, but all these stupid women walking around half naked with, steampunk attire on. I don't know if y'all know what that is. It's historically inaccurate, like 20s and 30s Industrial Revolution era clothing, and not much of it. And so anyways, that is my experience with Van Kampf, as they were at this burlesque event that I was tricked into going, and promptly left out the back door not long after being there. So anyways, that was a fun story. That wasn't about 1911s. Okay. Blackstone will let you hold and shoot. Yes, Blackstone is in North Carolina, and that actually may be one of the first dealers that we actually go and do a dealer day with, because Blackstone is super close to where I'm at, and I can just zip on down to Charlotte, get me some good barbecue there in Charlotte, and some good sushi, honestly, and zip on back up. So we might do Blackstone first. Baptists feel out of place in Vegas. Yes, we do. Yeah, Baptists do feel out of place in Vegas. It is definitely a strange place. I got catcalled by a hooker, and I didn't really know what was going on. And also, they pass out these cards, right? And I've definitely become way more hateful in my older age of 25. But, first time going to SHOT Show, I'm sitting there trying to be nice to everybody. And I see all these people, not just women, but people coming up. Hey, here, take this card. You can have a good time. And I'm like, oh, yeah, thank you. And I'm not even paying attention to what they are. I'm putting them in my pocket, just trying to be nice to people, taking these cards that they're giving out on the street, turn around. And my buddy's laughing at me. He goes, are you pocketing all them cards? And I said, yeah. And he goes, why don't you take a look at what them cards are? And I pull them out, and then there's naked ladies on it. I mean, hell, you can't shit for having naked ladies around you, and I'm not necessarily saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that, where's the pictures of the Shelby Cobras? That's what I would want, Hey, here, come on down to Shelby, America. You can sit in the Cobra. They don't let you do that, but I would rather do that than fool around with some, charlatan. Blackstone has opened a second location in Greenville. That's really cool. I didn't know that, actually. Is that hot girl in the red polka dot dress your girlfriend if she is? Okay. As a fellow North Carolinian, glad to hear you'll hopefully be having an event here locally. Yes. We do want Blackstone, I think, might be our only North Carolina dealer at this time. We are trying to branch out into states where we don't have dealers yet. However, being in North Carolina myself, it's easy to go down to Blackstone and do an event. And I think it'll be really fun. I have noticed that a lot of folks that work at some of these dealers aren't really 1911 people. And man, I think that's a big mistake. When, you're asking somebody, and I'm not going to lie to you, I've definitely went into gun stores that carried Alchemy products and not said I was an Alchemy rep. Or the Alchemy guy, and they didn't recognize me because they carried a damn Glock. Most people that carry Glocks don't know who I am. That's fine. And, they get this 1911 out, and they don't even know how to, like, if somebody leaves a safety on a 1911 and some dude with a Glock on his hip gets it out of the case, 9 times out of 10, he's going to sit there like this for about 2 or 3 seconds before he realizes the safety's on. And like with me, and I wish there was one here, the minute I pick up a 1911, it's almost a natural reaction to hit the safety on it, maybe that's not a good thing, but it is, it is me, and, get to check the chamber. So I have noticed that, a lot of times you've got younger folks behind the counter, and because they're not 1911 guys, they're unable to give you really good information about 1911. So like if you go into a shop and you're like, I want a 1911, I want to spend $4,000, they'll struggle to be able to kind of point you in the right direction. So my job, I really want to create a little bit of a video for my dealers, and it'll be public too, so like anybody really can look at it and kind of help people sell 1911s, because that's sometimes that's the first point of contact. With a brand like Alchemy, especially, we're small, we're super small. So sometimes that's the first point of contact is with the dealer. And so, if they're not 100% down on what we're doing, it's kind of difficult to portray that to a potential customer. Anyways, off my soapbox. What ammo you carry in your carry piece? I do actually have some of it here. I don't know. I don't think that'll get me in trouble. So I got this Federal Syntech 205 grain. It works really well for me. Now, why do I use this Federal 205 grain Syntech? Well, because this sumbitch right here will feed in just about everything I've got. And I'm talking everything, like from my 1916 Colt, which let me tell you right now, old Colts don't like hollow points. That joker will feed in it. And so I like having just one jacket hollow point 45 that will, work pretty much across the entire span of the 1911s that I own. So the Federal 205 grain Syntech is what I have. I ate too fast because I thought I was going to be late to get on here, and it's disagreeing with me a little bit. But yeah, this is a pretty good live, honestly. For us not being able to talk about, or us not being able to show 1911s, it's a pretty good live, I would say. Maybe I'm just tooting my own horn. Maybe I'm just, making something up. But man, I'm having a good time. I hope y'all are. Will there be another special edition pistol like Combat Limited for 2024? Yes. Hopefully, if the stars align and Mercury is in the microwave, we'll be able to provide four different resto mods for 2024. Now, it's Combat Limited. If you didn't get one, sorry. There actually, I believe, is one for sale on the 1911 Addicts right now. But the Combat Limited, gone. We're going to do 4 separate guns. They're going to be sick AF. And honestly, we're also going to invest a little bit of money into the marketing of those guns, which is funny because those guns typically will sell with very little marketing. I mean, if you remember the Combat Limited release, it was one of my early videos too. So it wasn't great on the editing. It wasn't great on anything really. It was not fantastic. It could have been a lot better, and I hate that, but it was kind of where we were, kind of had to do what I had to do. But we're actually trying to spend some money to kind of make some dope videos to go with the resto mods, because they are super sick. And this crop 4, this is going to span a lot of different years in 1911 history, and even kind of there's going to be one in there that it isn't really a historical gun, but it's going to be freaking sick. And honestly, that one, there's one particular one which I am just super excited for, because it is the video for it is going to be nuts if everything lines up. The gun itself is going to be nuts. People like I tell this to people all the time. Alchemy Custom Weaponry, we're basically the cowboys of the 1911 world. Like, we just do shit people don't do, and so these crop of 4, which of course, if you're familiar with the Combat Limited, we don't tell until kind of the last minute what it's going to be. Now, I will tell you, for this year, we will be giving you more time to mull over the gun than we did last time. If you remember the last drop, you had about an hour to see the gun before it was released for sale, and they sold out in literally 2 minutes. I believe we may introduce the gun for viewing earlier than that, and then release the gun on a decided date or time of drop. We just want to be fair to everyone, but at the same time, drops are fun. If you are telling me y'all didn't enjoy all the build up to the Combat Limited and then the excitement of people trying to get it, I know a lot of people were pissed off about it, but it was fun, and that's, I think, something that people forget about in the 1911 world. Like, it's just people take shit too seriously. We're trying to have a little bit of fun, build some cool guns, make a little money. It's the American dream, baby. This is what capitalism is all about. Okay. GW crossed the river and killed a bunch of Germans for this, okay? And yeah, they were Germans, okay? They weren't British. They were Hessians. And then we kept Kept that streak going. World War I and dose. Okay, here we go. How do you feel about buried protected Bomar sites? I don't care one way or another, to be honest. I don't. I like Bomar sites. I think they look good. I understand, the application of being able to dial in your ammunition, and that is fantastic. They're not as fast for me, and I'm still 25, and I like to go fast, Ricky Bobby. Are the new Resto mods going to be limited to 25 models? So it's going to be 25 of each gun. There has been talk of doing more than that. I personally, even though I know we'd sell them, I kind of want to keep it to 25. We'll see if I win that battle. We might do more, but 25 will be the minimum that we do, at least. Do you have insurance on your gun collection? That's an awful interesting question to ask me. Why do you need to know that? Who are you? The government? Any other forum other than Addicts? There is 1911. What is it? 1911 forum itself. The name of that, and that one I think is actually bigger than Addicts, but it doesn't seem to be as hopping as Addicts. But Addicts also is a wild place. It's like the wild, wild west, man. It's. There have been plenty of times I've just logged out of Addicts and haven't got on for many days because it's just it'll keep you up at night sometimes. American is all about the speed. Hot, nasty, badass speed. Eleanor Roosevelt. Oh. When will we see the next Resto mod? You will see that hopefully before the end of Q1. So the goal is to have the guns every quarter. So I'm hoping that by the end of Q1 you'll see the first Resto mod, which is fantastic. I'm really excited about it. We're not 100% sure on the finish of that gun. We know what we want it to look like. We just aren't 100% sure how we're going to make it look like that. And so it's really fun because we're kind of testing some stuff right now, and I'm really excited about it. It's going to be really cool. Eli, how about a dealership in Minnesota? I hope that's Minnesota. I hope I didn't just make that up. We're not all effing Democrats here. Downrange would be a nice choice. Hey, listen, I'm always open to that's a market we that kind of Midwest area is a market we don't really have. So I'm always open to new dealers out there. I'm gonna scroll up, make sure I didn't miss anything over here on the Instagrams here. Finger guns. I think we're all caught up. Sweet. Okay. Yeah, this is going well for not having any guns. I'm very, very happy with this. 66 people on the Instagrams here. 22 people, or excuse me, YouTube 66. 22 on the YouTube. That's pretty epic. I'm super happy about that. I appreciate y'all coming out to the first 45 Friday Live of 2024. Like I said, these are a little bit off the cuff. This is outside of my work hours. I kind of just honestly, no one's ever told me to do these 45 Friday Lives. No one's ever really said anything about them. This is sort of my opportunity to get to know y'all as potential customers, current customers, even just people who just enjoy the brand. So this is just a fun time for me to get to know y'all, and I appreciate y'all coming out and spending some time with me. So hopefully we can be a little more regular in 2024. But I do understand the first part of this year is show season, and that is irregular at the at the latest. So picked up my Prime Elite today. Hell yeah. Well, don't just say that. What was the specs? You got to let us know the specs of the Prime Elite you picked up today. Hard chrome versus silver DLC versus stainless, which hard chrome. Okay. That's not even a question. Okay. Is chromium nitride good? Sure. Yeah. But guess what? Hard chrome's gangster. Okay. It is the sauce. And they're really like, if you want a silver gun, just have a silver gun. I get it. But I really think hard chrome just looks better than everything else. And it may be marginally better, but hard chrome is just gangster, man. It's the sauce. Pearl handle grips. Well, we all know what General Patton said about pearl handle grips. How do you do Instagram Live? I went to your page in Alchemy, but I cannot find anything and can't find anything. So if you go, and this is difficult to show. If you go to the Instagrams, right, and you look at the stories at the top, so it's going to show our logos, and you should see like a red circle that says live with an Alchemy logo in the stories section. For Instagram people, you don't need to know that because you already know that. Okay, race fans, fight the good fight for aggressive checker, and we need 20 LPI or less. It builds character. I absolutely believe that to be true. I would like to have 15 LPI, 17 LPI for Alchemy, but I promise you people will not like that. I don't even know if you would like 15 or 17, but because it's hyper aggressive. I would love it. But, a lot of people have become soft-handed in our modern age, and so they don't really care for that. I see Cabot Alchemy is hiring. What experience are they looking for? Gunsmithing and loving 1911s is the experience we're looking for. It was hard chrome ring hammer 9mm. The other was DLC ring hammer 45 ball cuts on both. Hell yeah, brother. That's a great combination on both of those. 3 LPI or bust. That's funny. Have you tried the VZ Krell grips? No. I have aliens on them, and I have a few, like I have the double diamond VZs and some other VZs. I'd like to try to get VZ grips that have the Alchemy logo on them. A couple of dudes have done that, and I think it looks really cool. So I'd like to see that eventually, but we're small. We got to fight our battles here. Would be cool to see a video series of you and Nick running some ACWs through multi-day training sessions like Gunsight or something and see how they do. Well, I mean, we kind of know how they'll do. They're excellent built firearms. Okay, it's kind of at this point like, when you spend that much money on a gun, it's more than likely going to work. And the best part about a company like ours is if it doesn't, we have your back. We always stand behind the product. So, I mean, yeah, that would be a cool video idea, though. The 1911 is the Old Testament and the New Testament. Eli, yes, that is a statement that I have used before. Does Alchemy have any finish that would be similar to the polished black on the Dan Wesson heirloom? Yes. Polished bluing would be very similar. ACW 1903-08 win. Which gun would you pick for Randy Savage? Randy Savage carries a 45. It's probably a Quantico in bead blast blue because he don't give a shit. Maybe hard chrome Quantico. Maybe my Quantico is the gun I would pick for Randy Savage. Oh yeah. Y'all gonna get me. Listen, I did the Randy Savage Macho Man kind of callback the last SHOT Show, and everybody in the comments, not on our stuff, but like on Classic Firearms, they all said I was a douchebag for it. And I'm like, dude, are y'all not know who the Macho Man is? Like, ridiculous, blasphemous. The cream will rise to the top. Oh yeah. And the 1911 is the cream. I even had cream packets I stole from the hotel lobby. I don't even drink coffee, but I went and stole some cream packets, and I had them in my pocket because I knew I was doing that interview that day. And I'd pull them out and like do the whole Macho Man thing where he puts it on his head and shit. It was excellent. It was well thought out. And still, people are like, "Oh, he's a douchebag." And I'm like, "Yes, correct, but not for that reason." What would Taylor Swift carry? I'd rather not answer that. Taylor Swift's kind of hot, so I don't know. She gets a pass for me. I mean, like, is she my, like, listen, I like a dark-headed woman, okay? Taylor Swift isn't necessarily like my textbook definition of hot, but she's also a celebrity, and I feel really stupid sitting here as someone with no chance with Taylor Swift saying anything other than she's hot, because she kind of is. So this is a weird conversation to have with you people, but it's how the cookie crumbles sometimes. What 1911 would you recommend as a wedding gun? Charcoal blue, prime elite, ring hammer, ball cuts, gold bead. Gangster. And I am a firm believer you should carry at your wedding. Oh, well, the suit, blah, blah. Get your suit tailored around the gun. Or, don't give a shit. It's your wedding. Who cares if you have a gun at your wedding? I can never understand that, why people even give a shit if you have a gun or not. I was the best man at my buddy's wedding. He got divorced later, but, I was still the best man there. I told him not to get married. He did it anyways. And, I had my 1911 in a shoulder holster. And we did one picture where all the groomsmen took their jackets off. And I, of course, had the Galco Miami Classic on, looking like a, straight baller. Okay. And they were like, oh, why do you have a gun on? I'm like, why not? Like, this is America, isn't it? Leave me alone. And the groom, who was my best friend, was like, I don't care if you have a gun. I gave him an AR-15 as a wedding present. How are you doing with this cold weather in North Carolina? I'm so glad you asked. Not well. In fact, I was on the phone with my buddy, and I look up, and I see flurries coming off the mountain. And I'm telling you right now, I was upset. I was physically upset. Really, really, I just was like, this can't be happening. This is not how this works. I don't want to see snow. But luckily, it was just flurries. It didn't really do anything. But, man, I cannot stand snow. I have no use for it. I don't want to be around it. If I never saw snow again, I would be perfectly happy. God, I hate it. I hate being cold. Being cold sucks. Have you seen any blue wear issues with minimal use? I'm seeing blue wear as part of bluing that is not touched by the holster or my hands. I mean, bluing wear happens, and a lot of that comes down to your environment, humidity. A lot of things can affect bluing. It is not like it's not a tough finish. It takes a lot of maintenance, but guess what? Here's the best part. Bluing wear looks gangster, looks sick. I always think a worn blued gun looks way better than a really nice, pristine blued gun. So, as another BAR enjoyer, are you also obsessed with the Thompson? Really looking to snag one of the most American guns there is. Yes, specifically the 1921 Colt Thompson submachine gun. This was actually before the Blish lock, which slowed down the rate of fire, which would then be slowed down even further with the M1A. And the 1921, I want to say it's like 900 rounds per minute or something like that. And the problem with it, why they went, to the 1928 and then the 1928 A1 with the slightly slower rate of fire, and then the M1A1, the M1 and the M1A1, which have a slower rate of fire as well, is because people were having trouble controlling it. And I remember the first time I ever tried out a 1921 Colt Thompson submachine gun, and I had 20 round sticks, and then I did actually have a 100 round drum, and it was an original drum, so it did have a couple of malfunctions, but honestly, for a 100-year-old drum magazine, ran really well. But 20 round stick mags are the sauce when it comes to 1921, 28 Thompson submachine guns. Anyways, I digress. Had it in there, and I just thought that gun was one of you just keep it right on target everywhere you go with it, just a freaking broom, okay? And I can never understand, and I think it just comes down to, like, we know in modernity how to handle sub and machine guns. We just know how to handle machine guns, fully automatic weapons, a little bit better than they did back then. I think there's some exceptions. You see some trick shootings from some police guys with Thompsons, some old films. But for the most part, I don't think people really understood how to put their weight behind a gun. And I really hate the transition to the slower rate of fire with the 28s versus the 21. The 21 Colt Thompson is my favorite Thompson by far. And the BAR is really easy to handle too. And it's really cool because BAR 1918 A2s have the selectable rate of fire, which is really, really something wild. But again, I do gravitate back to the 1918 no A2. One, because it's gorgeous, and two, it's just a riot. So, yeah. A little late to the game tonight. Has anyone asked your thoughts on the TRP operator? Well, being that this is an Alchemy live, I probably won't really speak too much on a competitor 1911. So there's that. I was in Canton today and it was snow. That sucks. Oh, Canton, North Carolina always smells like. Oh, that's funny. Yeah. All right. Amen. Most Thompsons available nowadays are using completely different operating mechanism as well. One day. Yeah. Yeah. The Thompson, the BAR. I mean, guys, let's just think about this. Guns pre 1945 are just bangers, just absolute bangers. Winchester 1895. Tell me that's not a banger gun. Remington Model 8. Come on. Winchester 1907. And I'm just going rifles right now. You talk about your FNA 5. Okay. You got the Remington Model 11, which is an FNA 5 essentially. Even the Widowmaker Winchester, I believe it was a 1911 model, is pretty cool because the knurling on the barrel is interesting. And then handguns. Oh, the best handguns. The 1911, the 1903, the 1900, the 1902, all the Colt automatics, gangster. The Mauser C96, broom handle, of course, the Lugers. Even some abstract guns are pretty cool. Astras, just everything pre-war is dope. The Smith & Wesson triple lock, your revolvers, your 38-44 heavy duty 4-inch guns, Smith & Wessons, those are gangster as hell. All the machine guns are just excellent, from water cooled to the BAR. Just pre 1945 were the best era of guns. Okay, from about 1897, and I know there's a lot of cool lever guns and cowboy guns, but from about 1897 to 1945, the best guns, the coolest guns, and I will stand by that. It's just everything was a friggin' banger. And even guns that kind of sucked were still pretty cool. Thoughts on the Winchester 1905, 07, 10? What was the best one? Well, you don't see many 05s or 10s. The 07 Winchester is obviously the most popular. I think if the 10 in the 401, I believe is what it was, if that had a larger magazine available, and maybe it did, and I've just never seen one, like the 07, which even the 07 and 351 Winchester, which I always think about 351 Windsor and Cleveland Ford engines. But anyways, the 351 Winchester is a gangster round all in its own. But the 401, that's a heavy hitter right there. So if I would probably say the 10 is the one I could get, as long as ammunition was provided. All of those guns, though, ammunition is really hard to get, so that kind of sucks. Will Alchemy ever make revolvers? Absolutely not. No chance we'll ever make revolvers. 3-gun match with a 1911, 1897 shotgun and a Thompson would be awesome. We've done that before. It's called World War II, and the Americans won. Oh, God. I love it. Another thing about SHOT Show I was just thinking about is there going to be a lot of foreigners. Not saying I'm anti-foreigner by any means, but, like y'all try to make jokes to a German. They're not very good at getting them. And specifically, World War II jokes to Germans do not usually fly very well. There was one where this Fritz was setting up camera equipment, and I don't know what happened. He was kind of all over the place. I don't know what happened, but he all of a sudden stopped. He started bleeding, and he just looked at me like he's bleeding. Which okay, you're bleeding. You can bleed when you're dead, kind of thing. He's bleeding, not even really that bad, and he looks at me. He's like this. And I don't know if it's like a natural reaction in the German mind that when you start bleeding and there's American in front of you, like your life's about to, I don't know how that works, but he looks at me and I just say, and there were some 1911s on the table because he was going to film them. And I said, Well, yeah, that ain't the first time a 1911's made a German bleed, and he totally like didn't even. He just was like, and then ran off to the bathroom or some shit. I don't know. To put some duct tape on it, kept going. But yeah, they don't really appreciate those jokes as much as I do. But hey, you know what? That's all right. They don't speak Appalachian. Hey, I'm German. Are you German or are you American with German heritage? If you're actually German, that's that's cool that you're tuning in tonight. Uh, Germans don't catch jokes well because their grandpa and granddaddy's caught all that 230 grain ball. Oh my god. Oh my god, that's hilarious. Okay, listen. All I'm saying is, okay, you might do you want to buy your 1911s from the company that throws out World War II jokes? Okay, that seems like a qualifying like, oh, I'm looking at let's check all the boxes on these custom 1911s. Okay, forged frame, forged line. Do they joke about World War II often? Alchemy, yes, we do. Okay. Perusing the site again, has the square trigger guard version been discontinued? Technically, the square trigger guard model, the prime target, has been discontinued. However, you can still get the prime target via the prime 5-inch or the prime elite, because now the square guard is a drop down menu option. So yes, the prime target's been discontinued, but the square guard has not. And I actually plan on my alchemy I'm going to order this year will be a square guard gun. And hell, it may even be a 9mm, just because I have like 9,000 rounds of 9mm. I need to find something to shoot, and I'd rather shoot in single stacks because it's just fun. Germans don't like World War II jokes because they're still getting gas bills from 1945. That's funny and probably true. Up to 74. Wow. We have 16 people on Instagram. Instagram, people pop in and out, but 75. I'm telling you right now, the YouTube folks just are troopers. They just get on here and they're here as long as I'm here, and I freaking love it. I got some questions I'm going to answer. I want to come over here. Is Alchemy planning on an intro level piece builder's kit? No, we're not. Sorry, we're not. Coming over here. Oh, wait, I missed it. Where'd it go? Why did you discontinue the classic carry? Well, just like with the prime target, we discontinued the name, but we didn't discontinue anything else. Like, if you want a classic carry, go to the prime carry page, ball cuts, tritium, front sight, ring hammer. Boom, you got the classic carry. What we're trying to do is streamline all of the model options. So like, it didn't make sense to have the classic carry that was basically just a prime elite with certain options. And, basically everyone did, like, if you ordered a classic carry, you didn't even order it with just those options. Like, most people who ordered a classic carry would change the front sight to a gold bead or ambi safety or Adam Agwell and blah, blah, blah. Next thing you know, you're up to a prime elite carry. So it made no sense to keep the classic carry as a model when no one really just ordered it as a model. So you get the prime compact, prime carry, and the prime. And honestly, I'd like to fold the prime, the charcoal blue and the color case hardened finishes as just upgrades rather than models, but one step at a time. I want our site to be super easy, where you go in there and you say, hey, I want a 5-inch gun with no rail, prime, boom. I want a 4.25-inch gun with a rail, Quantico carry, boom. It's easy. Quanticos have rails, primes don't. Like, that's what we're trying to do here. Because like, especially before I started working for ACW, because that's when I got most of my 1911s from other manufacturers. I would go through and look at like their websites and I'd be like, oh my gosh, like there's just so many freaking, and like sometimes like the options were, and I'm not going to be specific because, I don't like talking poorly of anyone else, but sometimes the options would simply be like this person's name on a gun with front cock insertions or something like that. It made no sense. It was just a way to get people to buy more guns. And I get that, but like, I want people to be I want it to be extremely easy to buy an ACW. You don't have to think about things. You don't have to, compare a bunch of options. You say, hey, I want a 5-inch gun that doesn't have a rail. Prime. Boom. Then go through your options at that point. Prime compact or prime carry for the first gun? Prime carry. I mean, I don't know. It depends on. So here's something you need to look at. If you're someone whose waist comes in pretty hard, like I'm a fairly wide person all the way down. And so I can carry a full-size grip, no problem, especially appendix. Now, and I'm using the appendix term here. So, if you carry elsewhere, you'll have to think about that. So for me, carrying a full-size grip, not an issue because it doesn't come outside of my silhouette. There are people who are so narrow in the waist that the grip actually protrudes outside their silhouette. And especially if you don't have, a chest like I do. I'm not trying to brag. I'm just saying I have a larger chest. Clothes don't drape the way that they do on people with smaller chests. So your shirt will be flat and then this gun will be sticking out. Okay. With me, I actually have a little bit of a shelf where the gun is kind of underneath my chest. Now, if you are looking at the 3 o'clock or, anything on the hip, you again have to consider how wide you are. And you also have to consider the cant of the holster itself. At that point, if you are a little bit thinner, you're of course wanting to get a shorter grip because that's where your actual, width of what will print is going to come into play. Okay. I like the idea of streamlining for ACW. It makes things simple. Yes, it does. Are you guys going to SHOT Show? Yes. Well, I'll be leaving Sunday for SHOT Show. YouTube must have killed showing guns. Damn fun police. Yes, so we are not showing guns. I kind of want to just get back in their good graces, and maybe I'll throw some on later. But for right now, I'm just trying to play by the rules because I would rather use this time to talk to y'all than not. So. Sorry. I sometimes inadvertently actuate my Prime Elite thumb safety, but I don't do it on my Quantico. Can I adjust the Prime so it doesn't happen? Make it stiffer. Yeah, we can do that. We can tighten up the grip safety. I will say good holsters typically have a sweat guard that will cover the thumb safety. And I have some thumb safeties on guns that just plain you wonder how they how they stay on. And as long as it has that sweat guard, it ain't coming off. So it may also be, and a lot of people don't like that higher sweat guard because it sometimes is a little bit difficult to draw from. But, I think with some practice, it is a good option. So usually the Quanticos are the ones you have the issue with because there is a safety on the opposite side where you will actually interact and like bump into things and knock it off. What sets an ACW apart from other custom shots like Nighthawk? Wilson, genuinely curious why you think we should spend our hard-earned money with ACW versus competitions. Peter, I'm going to tell you something. So for everyone, let me recap that. So the question is, what sets ACW apart from Nighthawk, from Wilson? And we all know by now, and obviously this is your first time, so that's okay. I will not say anything that could be misconstrued as talking poorly of any of our competitors. I've got friends at Ed Brown. I got friends at Nighthawk. I got friends at, King River Custom. I got friends at Wilson. I got a lot of friends at Wilson. And they're all good guys. They all build a good product. I firmly believe the semi-custom 1911 world is the one place where you could just about pour everyone's name into a hat, pick one out, and you'll more than likely be happy with what you get. Here is some considerations. If you are someone who appreciates the history, the classicness, the timelessness of the 1911, Alchemy's kind of your company. If you look across the entire semi-custom world, no one really captures that classic 1911 the way we do. And that's really not a dig to anyone. Everyone's got kind of what they do. Wilson Combat, they're very well known for having guns with duty coat finishes, with tritium sights. Like, that's their bag now. We are known for our bluing. We're known for our classically styled guns. We're known for kind of building guns in a little bit of an old old school way. So, I will never tell you, hey, here are the reasons why you should buy our product, because honestly, if it doesn't speak to you, there's not much. I mean, what am I going to say? All the semi-custom guns are very well built. Everyone builds a good gun. It comes down to what you like, the company you like. Like, that's another thing too. There's a lot of companies that you may feel a little bit more of a connection with. I know a lot of the Alchemy customers really enjoy the bit of more personal touch that we try to provide. Because we're not as big as a lot of the other companies, but it just comes down to your preferences on styling, how you appreciate a gun being built, and then also that kind of extra customer service aspect, if you will. But like I said, I'm not going to sit here and tell you, hey, here's 5 reasons we're better than XYZ company. If you like us, we're here to build you guns. If you don't, I'm sure someone will build you a gun you like. I hope that answer satisfies you, but I'm not going to get into any specifics on why you should buy our guns over other people's guns. Use a tablet showing guns almost like Willy Wonka showing the guns throughout Wonka Vision. Maybe. Vintage Colt, so darn cool. Commander or full size? I don't understand that question. I appreciate your response. Thank you. Well, I appreciate you, understanding my position on that response. So yeah, it comes down to what you want, the company you want to support, where you want to put your money. But like I've said, the semi-custom world is a really special one where everyone really does a bang up job building a really good gun. And, I've got plenty of guns from our competitors. I think that's another thing too that I don't want to say sets us apart, because that's really not a thing, but I'm very aware of what everyone else is building, because I own Ed Browns, I own Nighthawks, I own Wilsons. I'm not afraid to buy competitors' guns. But at the end of the day, my Alchemies are my favorites always. My Combat Limited, that's my favorite gun I own, period. And there's a lot of emotional stuff in that gun as well, of course, but that's a really special gun to me. I love it. My Quantico, don't even get started on the gangster Quantico. But, I'm not afraid to go buy other people's guns. At the end of the day, I'm a 1911 enthusiast. And I think that's one thing that you don't really see other companies doing, is just really appreciating the gun itself, not just their version of the gun. So, I've got Colt custom shop guns. I've got Ed Browns. I got Nighthawks. I got Wilsons. I've got Alchemies. I've got Cabot. I've got one Cabot. I do not have multiple Cabots. I have one Cabot. When you have multiple Cabots, you have some dinero. I do not. But anyways, so I have a plethora of semi-custom 1911s, and it's good, I think, to be aware of where you are and what everyone else is doing, and appreciate everything that everyone else is doing too. So. What's the difference in custom, semi-custom, and production? So this is a little bit difficult to understand, because I think people throw those names out not knowing 100% what they are. And they also think that there's like a hard line, okay? Like, this is production, this is semi-custom, this is custom. So here's kind of my interpretation, and this may be like the King James, version. There's a lot of different versions. You could be NIV, you could be King James. I'm going to be the King James version here. Man, my Baptist comes out a lot, don't it? So a production gun is something like Springfield Colt. And those are guns that are made in, first of all, mass quantities. And those are guns that have extremely, I don't want to say like they're extremely streamlined in their build process. You'll see very little fitting only when it's needed. And sometimes not even then, but you'll see very little fitting, very assembly line-esque production. And also the guns are usually available as just models, where there's not really options to switch anything really. Like, I get the Alchemy doesn't have a ton of options, but like you don't go to Colt and say, hey, can I get a Colt Classic with this? You just don't do that unless you go through the Colt custom shop. And even then, I don't even know if they'll do that kind of thing. So anyways, That's kind of production. Semi-custom is like Nighthawk, us, Wilson, Ed Brown, all those where you have a list of options, and these guns are made usually per order. Obviously dealer guns are not made like for a specific person, but like they're made one at a time, and there's a ton of time. The time difference and then just how they're actually made is dramatic between production and semi-custom. It's actually not as dramatic when you go from semi-custom to custom, but from production to semi-custom, it's dramatic. You'll see the guns are actually gunsmith built. Like for instance, Alchemy, we start with completely oversized parts. Nothing goes together. You can't even get the sliding frame on the gun. And 20 plus hours later, we have a gun that's ready to go to finishing. And so there's a lot of handwork. There's a lot of human touch that goes on with a semi-custom gun. And of course, you do have more options. You may not have, you may not have like no options, but you do have a few more options in the semi-custom realm. Custom is a little bit harder to define because there's a spectrum. It's not like this hard line. There's a spectrum, in my opinion. So in the custom world, you have several different types. You have people who build guns the way they build guns, and you get a few things that they say, but it's such a high level. Like for instance, Jason Burton. Like Burton's going to build the gun that he builds really, 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 really well. He's going to put a ton of time in it. And then you have some folks who will literally build whatever you want. And that's going to, literally from whatever parts that you ask them to use, they'll build. With a custom gun, you get even more time than a semi-custom gun. You have more options. And typically the builder is fairly well known as a person, like themselves, versus like Alchemy custom weaponry versus like Jason Burton as a person. And so you're also paying a little bit for that person building the gun, and having their stamp associated with the gun as well. And then of course they're putting a ton of time. And another thing that separates and this is a big one here. Another thing that separates like a semi-custom gun from a custom gun is the ability for a custom gunsmith to literally make parts as they go. That's something that's not really done much because like the world of parts is so great. Like it's kind of hard to do so, but like in a pinch, a custom level gunsmith will be able to make certain parts on their own and fix things without actually having to like order a new part. It's a pretty incredible thing. But I tell people all the time, like most people can't outshoot a production gun. You have to really appreciate the workmanship and the craftsmanship that goes into a gun like an Alchemy to really understand why you're spending that much money on the gun. So I hope that explains it. That's a really like long explanation. I apologize it's taken so long, but it's such a difficult subject. And again, there's a spectrum of things. Okay. Because I've just tried to 5-minute crafts you from T-Sauce to Jason Burton. And that's just a difficult thing to do in a short amount of time. So maybe we do a video that goes into more depth about that. But, Alchemy being semi-custom, it's the best bang for buck when you consider all the options. Is it possible to get a threaded barrel for a Quantico? Not yet. It is in R&D though. I've got a threaded barrel gun and I shoot suppressed 45, and like the novelty of it's cool, but actually running a suppressed 45 kind of blows. Are there any production delays with some models or finishes? Charcoal blue and color case hardened typically do take quite a bit longer. There's a ton more prep work in a charcoal blued gun than any other finish. So those take a little bit longer. And then DLC and hard chrome, we send out to a vendor. So those do take a little bit longer, but it's still at the 4 to 6 month range on most models, again, with the exception of the color case and the charcoal blue gun. Do you recommend anything inexpensive? I'd love to get one, but I don't have much money. Hey, listen, I get that. I think, This is going to be controversial, but throughout all of my 1911 shooting, my like, if you said, hey, you have $1,000 to spend on a gun, and you're not partial, like I'll probably go buy a Colt any damn way because I think I just like Colts. Okay. But if you say I have $1,000 to spend on a gun and I'm not sitting here thinking about what Colt I can swindle, I would say a Springfield 1911 of some kind is pretty consistent. I know a lot of people don't like Springfield. I'm not really a big fan of them either. But just of all the guns I've ever had, especially with production guns, before I got into semi-custom guns, there was a time. I carried a Springfield Range Officer Elite Operator when I was 21. I carried that for a couple of years, up until getting my Springfield Professional, which is probably like the shortest lived 1911 I've ever carried. I mean, I still have it. I just don't carry it hardly at all ever, because I have a Quantico. Why would I carry a Pro? But yeah, I think Springfield's probably your best bet. What do custom 1911s and autism have in common? They're both on a spectrum. Yes. Keep it up, Eli. Have a good night. You have a great night. Favorite barbecue gun, Safe Queen gun. Combat Limited. I don't shoot my Combat Limited as much as I should, and I feel very sad about that. But like, I don't know. It's one of those things. Like, I'm just really emotional about that gun. So the Combat Limited is probably my barbecue Safe Queen, gun of the Alchemy, stuff. I'm convinced you got my bit. Well, hey, we appreciate that. I saw the new Springfield TRP, lots of men. I will say I am a little bit disappointed with the direction that Springfield went with the TRP. I think that was just the Commander is cool. The Bobtail Commanders are cool. Like, that's fine. But raising the prices and not improving the build quality, like at the old price point, I understood, and that made a lot of sense. At the new price point, it was a bit disappointing. And Springfield I thought would be a little bit better with that, but hey, I don't know. Maybe I can't speak to anything Springfield does. SA Garrison, a lot of gun for the money. Oh yeah. 10 millimeter ever going to be an option? No. Sorry. I know somebody asked me on Instagram if 10 millimeter is going to be an option. I hope you're still there for me to say no. I don't know. I mean, like, it might be an option one day, but like, go back and watch this live where I basically tell you that most people that shoot 10 millimeter don't really shoot 10 millimeter. So yeah, get a Dan Weston Specials over the TRP. Yeah. For the 2K under the, the sub 2K category, like they're like anyone, objectively between Dan Weston and the Specialist versus TRP, Specialist wins every time, like. And like, I'm not sitting here trying to say Alchemy endorses, these guns. I'm not. I'm just kind of trying to be objective. When you put them on paper, it was a very strange move for Springfield to push themselves into the price bracket they did with the TRP. So, but like I said, for your sub $1,000, hard to beat Springfield. Sub $2,000, there's another option there. Will there be merch or swag in 2024? I'm going to tell y'all so much. I am trying to get us. This isn't just about you, okay? This is about me too. I want cool Alchemy merch and swag, okay? Like, this ain't even about y'all. I get that y'all want it, but I want it more. And I am begging to do some merch and swag. So hopefully 2024 is the year. I really, really want to do it. I'm telling you, there's just something about, like, I don't even drink coffee, and I like have a Colt coffee mug that I put like Cheerwine in sometimes. Like, there's just something about owning things with your favorite firearm brand. And I don't do this with other stuff like Ford. Okay, you got me. I'm a Ford guy. Okay, so I do like stuff with Ford Motor Company on it. But there's just something about a gun guy having his favorite, and I'm trying to think, like, I don't have anything down here, I don't think, that I can show. But there's something about like having your favorite brands either on t-shirts or what have you. And I have some banging ideas for t-shirts. So I'm hoping that we are able to do swag. Hold on one second. I'm coming back to here real quick. I ordered my charcoal blue in 38 in Super 38. We don't say 38 Super around here. That's just a weird thing I say. That's the TISM acting up. Before it was discontinued, you guys are still building Supers. Yes, if you have a Super on the build board, it is getting built. I would love to bring Super back. People don't buy Super enough. It sucks. It's just how it is. I love Super 38. It's expensive. People don't buy it as much. And then, it's just like, 10 millimeter. I really feel that way. People like, oh, we really want 10 millimeter. We come out with 10 millimeter. No one really buys it. But I love Super 38. That's a proper cartridge. My friends watching and wanting to know your favorite gun you've made. I said probably the Combat Limited. Can you explain why? I know the significance. I will be buying one if it's available again. So the Combat Limited will not be available again. I'm just kind of prefacing. The Combat Limited will not be available again, as far as I'm aware, because we are moving on to different Resto Mod projects. And that's one of the things that make Resto Mods really cool is it's like, we're going to do this and we're not going to do it again. We may do variations of that, but like the two-tone gun, we're probably not going to do again. But why that's so cool, and you're correct. The Combat Limited is my favorite project that we've ever done, and it's actually my favorite gun I own, period. Like if you laid out all my guns and you said, hey, one gun, what's it going to be? It's going to be the Combat Limited. And why that's so special. So the idea of doing a drop, the way we did it, where we didn't talk about the gun, we just kind of hinted about it. Like that was something that you don't see in the 1911 world. And it was fun. It was so enjoyable. And pitching the idea of doing the Combat Limiteds where we do them in 25 guns, we don't talk about it. We do little, hint marketing and drop marketing, which is very popular with young people. And they're sitting there in this, it's kind of a trust thing. Like, hey, you've got to trust us. In the Combat Limited, there was a lot of, highs and lows through that project. And then it was something that, again, Rob Shallon worked for the company at the time. It was something that him and I had really put a lot of thought into and spent a lot of time, after work talking about, and a lot of time, thinking about how it needed to be done. And especially for me, because my dream gun was a Pachmayr. I'm going to be honest. Pachmayr Combat Special is still my dream gun, but you never can find them for sale. And when you do find a Pachmayr Combat Special for sale, it's just crazy money. And so I've always wanted a Pachmayr Combat Special. So to have a gun that we made to emulate the Pachmayr Combat Special and just be so well received by everybody really was just a pretty emotional thing for me. And I don't know, the Combat Limited just holds a special place in my heart. It's going to take a lot. And I do have a gun coming that may tie with the Combat Limited, but the Combat Limited really means a lot to me personally. And I just think it's one of the sexiest guns ever, And it's hilarious because it's like the formula is easy: two-tone, square guard, ring hammer. But it just works. Just works so well. My grandson's name is Colt. Damn straight. That's a good name. Mugs and tumblers are always a good sellers for companies that have their logo on. Challenge coins also. Yeah. I'd love to have, Nalgene bottles with alchemy or just, I don't know, man, just some alchemy stuff. Trying to think if I missed anything here. Do you guys sell slides? No, we don't. We don't sell really any parts. We might get into a little bit of parts selling if we, get an e-commerce stuff, but it wouldn't be like a slide. Like we really wouldn't sell a slide on our website. I thought I'd have to pee if I drank this much. I mean, that's in the course of the time we've been in here. That's a fair amount of water. I thought I'd have to pee by now. But I did go to the gym, so maybe I'm just like replenishing the water in my body because I sweated a lot. I took a shower before I got in here, so I'd smell good for y'all. But I did sweat a lot earlier today. Restock your grips. Well, we'd love to, but here's the problem. The grips are really for overstock right now, the way we get them. And the issue with that is we just have a ton of orders that need grips. So the orders obviously come first. But again, that's we're trying to think about potentially doing an e-commerce site. So maybe that'll be something we do too. Can one special order a prime color case in 4 1/4? Yep, absolutely. If you wanna do the color case gun in a Commander, no problem. Do the regular color case hardened page and then just put in the order notes that you want it to be a Commander. And we will build you a Commander color case gun. Color case is so pretty. What is going on here? There was like fireworks on the Instagram live behind me. That was wild. That was real trippy. I don't even know how I did that, but that was wild. So yeah, any chance for different optic plate options in the future? Not really. We're pretty happy with the RMR SRO. I understand some people want the aim point. God, that looks so dumb on 1911s, but I understand some people want the aim point. Probably not going to happen. How delicate is color case? Well, I mean, it's really not as delicate as people act like. And there's 2 reasons for that. One, like every time you see like a color case gun that's usually worn out, that's real color case. A lot of color case you see is not real color case. It's like a chemical thing. And so that's whatever. But real color case, usually when you see worn color case, it's on guns that like are 100 years old. Like the color case that's on my Winchester 1894. Yeah. Like that's worn. But it was built in 1896. Okay. So it's kind of a give and take, right? So I think color case is a lot more durable than people want to act. And then the other thing is we do actually have a clear coat that we throw over our frames. And so that actually protects the color case quite a bit too. The RCR is better than the aim point. I haven't had the chance to use the RCR. I have used aim points, but I haven't used the RCR. I want to do a 2-tone blued over stainless. Can y'all do stainless instead of hard chrome? Absolutely not. It's going to be hard chrome, baby. Okay, we don't do stainless. And honestly, like raw, to me at least, raw stainless guns, especially a 2-tone raw stainless gun, does not look anywhere near as good as hard chrome. You can't. I don't know why, but the color is not right ever with a stainless gun over or blued over stainless versus blued over hard chrome. Like the color really is different, and stainless does never looks as good as hard chrome, in my opinion, especially in a 2-tone. But in any version of it, if you want a silver gun, hard chrome is the better, especially for looks. And it's a super durable finish as well. People will think that, oh, it's stainless, it's not going to rust. Think again. It will. Also, stainless is a weird metal to just deal with in general with gun building. Like Cabot, our sister company, has perfected working with stainless. But damn it, there's just something wholesome about a good old-fashioned carbon steel gun, I think I'm all caught up. We're at 67 people on here. High of 75. That's incredible. I just love, the people that come in here to the YouTubes and stick around forever. If you live in a humid environment, you're going to be fighting rust constantly with stainless. Yes, absolutely. And as I mentioned before, stainless it just doesn't look right. And then like a lot of times, this isn't all the time, but like a lot of times when you see a stainless gun, it will be like discolored in the small parts, and like that doesn't look right to me. But hard chrome, like when you see hard chrome in person, you understand, you get it. Yeah, you get it. But it's way cooler than stainless. Standard or ball cut for a Quantico? Well, standard cut would be, if you're going to keep that kind of angle back dust cover, the standard cut is definitely the way to go, in my opinion. Some people have a ball cuts and they like them. I think the standard cut's the way to go. Now, on only the 5-inch gun, we can 90-degree flush cut the dust cover and then ball cut and be more traditional looking. So we can do that. That'll be $100 more. But on any of the other models, that's not an option. So I hope that answers your question. We have a great video on the Quantico series. I talk a little bit more about that and show some examples. So check that out when you have a second. And that should answer all your questions. Officer Quantico high cap. Gosh, I hope we never do an officer gun, period. Oh gosh, just officer guns in general. Like, just carry a large gun, okay? Just carry a large gun. Be a man. Be large and in charge. So I say. I don't ever want to do an officer's gun. Like, and sometimes I think, oh, maybe I do, and then I'm like, no, I don't want to do an officer's gun. Maybe we will, just because, but the CCO is the smallest I would go, unless you move to a 1903 or a 1908 Colt pocket hammerless. That's a completely different story. It's funny, like, I'm usually anti-small gun. I'm like, screw small guns. And then somebody shows me a 1903 pocket hammerless, and I'm just like, that's the sauce. My main EDC is a high cap government, looking for something short scary. Get you a single stack CCO, baby. Throw a red dot on that joker. The Alchemy vest pocket. Now, I will say 1908 vest pockets. I was referring to the 1908 380 automatic pocket hammerless. The 1908 vest pockets are tragically small. I have one. I literally cannot shoot it. It is so small, my hand, and I don't have a crazy big hand. I can't shoot it. It's ridiculously small. But it is cool, and it has the original box and paperwork, so that's pretty dope in itself. The issues with the officer's model, the upper CCO, is easier to keep running and trims the grip down. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's the problem. Your dwell time at the end of the recoil cycle, especially for 45s, and your magazine strength are two big factors on a officer's ACP. Now, can they be built right? Absolutely. And we would probably make sure they were built right. But it's just, there's so many factors that, you're bastardizing the 1911 too much. Too much bastardization. Okay. Yeah, we make a CCO. That's a commander slide on an officer's frame. It's a CCO. Well, boys and girls, holy crap. This has been an hour and 43 minutes. Well, and I think that's plenty of time. I did not realize what time it was. We've been here for a while. We've been here for a long time. And hot damn, we didn't even show a gun, and we did the whole thing without getting our YouTube taken down. So 0.1 to the good guys. So with that, and I hate to cut a lot of people off from questions. This is kind of just being abrupt, but I just realized how late it was. Y'all need to go to bed. Okay, y'all need to go to bed. With that, I'm going to let y'all go. Good night. I love y'all. Okay, I don't know if somebody's told you that today. I love y'all. Gen Z sales guy, he loves you. And we appreciate you. Keep in mind that next week is going to be a tough one for us. We will not be able to answer emails and phone calls, at least from Nick and I. Nick and I will not be able to answer phone calls and emails quite as regularly as we normally do, or really at all. SHOT Show is just a blur. But thank you so much again for everything. I appreciate y'all. That's really it. I appreciate everything. I appreciate y'all hanging out with us. It's been a really fun time. I always enjoy these. Thank you again so much. Have a great night. And remember, carry cocked and lock, damn it.